Jujutsu Kaisen has now officially finished. I am recording this after the final chapter has been published, so we are now at the end of an era with Jujutsu Kaisen. So just cope and reminisce of all the good times your tribal chief had with Jujutsu Kaisen, and I'm sure all of you had with Jujutsu Kaisen as well. I wanted to talk about all the good things and the good times with Jujutsu Kaisen in this video. Jujutsu Kaisen wasn't all bad. I know the ending is frustrating and feels super rushed, which it is what it is, but we can't say we didn't have good times with the story. For instance, all the anime openings and endings, but especially the openings, they're all works of art. Especially the Jujutsu Kaisen opening for the Shibuya Incident arc with specials as the song. That opening is close to 100 million views, and you can see why. The darker palette of color emphasizing the doom that will happen to all the characters regardless of which side they are on. Whether a cursed spirit or Jujutsu sorcerer, no one is safe from the carnage that's about to happen. I know the first opening is iconic, especially with the fake out with Junpei, which was genius because it had us all anime onlys at the time completely fooled. But for me, I still prefer specials as it felt like the endgame opening, which the Shibuya arc kind of was the catalyst for the endgame. Another aspect that I love about Jujutsu Kaisen, and is probably everyone's #1 positive thing to say about the story, is its fight scenes and action. Look at the Gojo vs Sukuna fight, for instance. Even people who are not following the story were still massively invested in that fight. From when Gojo unleashed 200% Hollow Purple, to Sukuna slicing Gojo in Malevolent Shrine, to the 3-on-1, everything about this fight, all shonen fans were on the edge of their seat. Even in the first season of the anime, we had Yuji and Todo ganging up on Hanami, and we also had Yuji and Nanami ganging up on Mahito. We had so many fights in this series that were not just stuck on being one-on-one fights, but we had several fights where the heroes would clearly gang up on the bad guys. Look at Sukuna in that final gauntlet. It was literally all the Jujutsu sorcerers ganging up on him. So I really like the fact that this series broke the cliche of having heroes fight the villain in a one-on-one fight rather than getting help and teaming up on the villain. But Jujutsu Kaisen flipped that on its head. The choreography and the chaotic nature of the fights is what I love as well. There's genuine MMA style fights happening here. One of my favorite fights is the Chozo vs Yuji fight in Shibuya. I don't need to go into detail why I love this fight so much because I already have a video on it, so do go and check that video out. But long story short, that fight had everything. Hand-to-hand choreography along with some wrestling moves as well. We see Yuji doing an AJ Styles level of drop kicks here in this fight. We had the standoff with the water going off in the toilet in that fight, and the sheer brutality in that fight was immense. The whole fight was around 3 chapters. Like the full Yuji vs Chozo fight I'm talking about. And in my opinion, this fight symbolizes all the greatness in the Jujutsu Kaisen fights. Savage brutality as we see bones being broken, blood everywhere, people getting hit in the ribs, arms everywhere, fast-paced hand-to-hand combat and curse techniques. What really brought out the tension in this fight specifically is the whole Yuji trying to dodge Chozo's piercing blood attacks. Chozo's piercing blood is like a laser beam made of blood, so Yuji has to dodge at point-blank range whilst fighting him in a closed-off space at the same time, which generates so much tension for this fight. Which is a common theme in the fights of Jujutsu Kaisen, as different curse technique users, whether they are cursed spirits or Jujutsu sorcerers, they will all have different techniques. So for our heroes, the tension is always them trying to adapt to the situation and the new curse techniques that they are facing off in a fight. Yuji had to adapt and dodge piercing blood at point blank range, which he did, but he still lost that fight. Yuji's fight against Higuruma, he had no answers for Higuruma's domain expansion, so he adapted and chose to tell the truth, which led him to an opening to fight back against Higuruma. The fights are absolutely the best thing about this story. I would say some of these fights are up there in terms of high quality, fast-paced action, along with any of the great shonen fights from any shonen series like One Piece, Naruto, Dragon Ball, etc. As much as I didn't like how Gojo got sliced up off screen, I still loved that fight between himself and Sukuna. It got me coming back every week to see Twitter and the latest spoilers for this fight. So yeah, for me the fights are a big positive for anyone to enjoy this story. It has superpowered attacks like your Hollow Purple. It has domain expansions which allows the user to have a guaranteed hit on his target, which enhances the tension because we get to see the fighter on the receiving end of a guaranteed hit to think on their feet and try to dodge an unmissable attack. We have MMA style fights where characters can not only use special powered spirit bomb style attacks, but they can actually throw hands as well. Look at Jujutsu Kaisen 0. where we saw Gojo versus Miguel. Gojo was just punching and kicking Miguel. There was no hollow purple or any special move that Gojo uses. It was just pure fists, which gives us fans different flavors for these fights. There's something for everyone. Back alley brawl, we got them. Fist fights, we got them. Characters using special attacks, we got them. Clashes of domain expansion, which is basically Jujutsu Kaisen's version of a beam struggle, we got them as well. There's something for everyone, for those who love their action and fight scenes. So I do recommend you watching Jujutsu Kaisen if you're just solely into action and classic shonen fights. The characters of Jujutsu Kaisen. Whilst they may have a simple story arc, or others may not have been fully developed as we would have hoped for because the story has ended so soon, I still feel the characters are really cool and badass. I've visited Japan recently and saw Jujutsu Kaisen figurines everywhere, especially Gojo. No surprise there. These characters are beloved in the community. I think Toji, Gojo, and Sukuna are the top 3 in terms of favorite characters in the wider anime community. So amongst fans who are into other anime but also follow Jujutsu Kaisen but are not hardcore Jujutsu Kaisen fans, these are the fans who will prefer characters like Sukuna, Gojo, and Toji. Obviously, when you dive into the hardcore Jujutsu Kaisen fans, we will see Yuji, Megumi, Nobara, Todo, Maki, Yuta, and many others as their favorite characters, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And as much as I like Yuji as a character, and as much as I feel for him, as Gege clearly planned on torturing him the entire story, his comeback story against Sukuna was inspiring, no doubt. But him as a character, we have seen guys like this before. I think Yuji will mainly be remembered for being one of the few MCs that was always getting beaten up but kept getting back up again for more. I think for kids, Yuji is an inspiring character, but he's not like a massive standout in terms of the great shonen MCs like a Luffy or a Naruto. But Gojo, Sukuna, and Toji, in my opinion, are standouts. Sukuna was the demon within trope done right. Gojo was the strongest character trope done right. And Toji was an evil assassin with no powers who managed to defeat Gojo first. So of course Toji is up there. Gojo was the strongest character in the verse, but couldn't save anyone or achieve any of his objectives, adding to the vulnerability to his invulnerability. Sukuna tortured and mentally destroyed his host, to the point where his host wanted the death sentence for all of Sukuna's crimes. There were no let's be friends forever or a redeeming arc / phase for Sukuna. He stayed a demon to the very end. And Toji was like Batman planning and plotting on how to defeat the strongest sorcerer in the world and basically achieve another payday. I've uploaded countless videos on these 3 characters, so do go and check those videos out. But again, for me, these 3 are the GOATs of this story. I don't know about everyone else, but for me, the Shibuya Incident arc is still one of my most favorite arcs of all time. It's like this mini endgame arc wrapped into 20 plus episodes. You could watch the whole arc in a day. That's how addicting the arc is. I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan of the Culling Games, and the final Shinjuku Showdown arc did drag on, but the Shibuya Incident arc was a beast of an arc. Perfectly balanced of action, emotion, and drama. We had the badassery of Gojo and Sukuna, Gojo bullying the 3 disaster curses and using Infinity Void to protect the people in the train station, Sukuna causing mass murder, toying with both Jogo and Mahoraga, both of them being badass in completely different ways. But what do you expect from the 2 GOATs of this story? We had Gojo getting sealed away and the news being leaked to our heroes, and then the mission and arc changed into a rescue arc of saving Satoru Gojo. And us anime fans love a rescue arc, so this turned into that, which increased the tension in the story. We had many beloved characters die. Nanami, the disaster curses, even Nobara technically died here until she came back, literally right at the end of the story. We even had Gojo get sealed away here, so you can look at it like he also died in this arc. We had Yuji's transformation from hero saving the innocent civilians in the Shibuya station against the cursed spirits, to then having a life or death battle against Chozo in the men's bathroom, to then getting possessed by Sukuna, which led to Sukuna leading Yuji into having a mental breakdown where he wishes to die and called himself a murderer, to then eventually fighting off against Mahito and comparing himself to him by saying to him, "I am you." So you see Yuji go through so much here in real time. He goes from a Superman type good guy wanting to do good into literally becoming Batman, where it's all dark and gloomy due to the rivalry Yuji has with Mahito, which is basically like the Batman vs Joker type of rivalry. It's so surreal to see, if I'm honest, because we see Yuji fully change in this arc because of the trauma this arc gives, and it traumatized us fans as well. as we see some fans online even stopped watching the anime because they couldn't take seeing their favorite characters die. So much happens in this arc for me. I think this arc should have been the finale. The build up for this arc was perfect. It didn't drag at all. And the villains hyped up this arc by saying that they're gonna do a madness on the 31st of October in Shibuya. As much as I love the Shinjuku Showdown as the finale with Sukuna in that massive gauntlet, the Shibuya Incident arc involved all the characters, including Toji, who came back to life and destroyed a special grade curse without even trying. So this felt like the finale of the story. I think that's why for me the Culling Games was a bit of a disappointment, because we had Shibuya just before, which was a massive battle arc in the story with perfect amount of time for us fans to have a break within the fights as well. Unlike the Culling Games where it felt like every chapter was a fight, Shibuya did what the Culling Games couldn't do. So yeah, if the manga ended in the Shibuya Incident arc, it would have been the worst cliffhanger of all time. Or what a way to end the story. I made a video detailing how the Shibuya Incident arc is the Marineford War of Jujutsu Kaisen, so if you haven't already, do go and check that video out. Overall, there's many things to like about Jujutsu Kaisen. Even the story itself is not exactly complicated to follow, so you won't need to remember every detail of every plot line in the story, which makes it easy and simple to follow. The fights are epic. Some of the characters are amongst the best in the entire shonen genre, and it had one of the best action arcs of all time in my opinion. Yes, the story ended rushed and in a bad way in my opinion, but let's not forget the memories this story has given us. The Twitter battles between the Gojo and Sukuna fans, which had the whole anime community on lock, to all the epic reactions for the reveal of Gojo's eyes, to epic songs being played within the anime openings. There's many things to like about Jujutsu Kaisen, so let's not trash it and make it out that it's completely bad. No series is perfect. Even a show like Game of Thrones had an even bigger fall, and now no one talks about that series. Jujutsu Kaisen didn't have a Game of Thrones level of a fall, so let's give it the credit where it's due. What type of a series would you guys like me to cover next? Jujutsu Kaisen has ended, yes, but I'll still be creating video essays and thoughtful videos for you guys. So please stick around and have some patience with me, and I appreciate you guys for sticking around and watching my videos throughout this journey with Jujutsu Kaisen. So from the bottom of your tribal chief's heart, thank you. And just like I always say, don't forget to subscribe to the Shaman Tribe.